Senator, welcome back to the program. Prop 4 lowers school district taxes. Congratulations on that huge win in Tuesday's election. Here's the question I have for you on this. The state is going to now give school districts that $7.1 billion that taxpayers have been paying. Can the state afford to do that every year, though? $7.1 billion is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and that's why these are huge tax cuts that you're seeing in your property tax bills. And yes, the state can afford to do it. We've looked at sustainability as well as the impact on taxpayers, and we can do both. So it's a record $18 billion package that really has been years in the making, and it's having a fantastic impact on people's property tax bills. And so don't worry, the money is there, and the voters approved it. And when they did, that enshrined the constitutional change, the $100,000 exemption, homestead exemption, into the Constitution. So that's permanent now, and we're going to make good on our commitments.
Let's talk about sustainability for this, though, because this was a huge year of a surplus for state lawmakers. But what happens in the leaner times?
Well, the good news is that we started with $33 billion in surplus. It's actually higher now due to continued excess collections. And
what is it now, Senator? What's the number?
I mean, when you look at it from an adjusted base, probably about 36. Okay. And that's before the deducts, but it's been growing. And also, we haven't even touched the rainy day fund, which is now overflowing with oil and gas severance monies. So we didn't do this in a vacuum. We took a real look at what the sustainability would be, and there's simply no problems on the near-term horizon of 4 years or 2 more biennia, plus this biennia that we're actually making the changes in, because that's why it's on your tax bill right now.
Go ahead.
No, and it's actually indicated how much your savings is. So I think the important point here is this. The lieutenant governor and I have always thought about, if you got excess cash, too much tax collection, you got to give about half of it back to the public. And that's really what SB2 does.
The extra money, that extra $3 billion or so, what does that go towards? A rainy day fund?
No, at this point in time, the rainy day fund is actually full. So you're looking at just continued buildup of excess cash. Now, that may be all that we'll have, but we'll be able to manage that for quite some time.
Understand. Now that Prop 4 is passed, Senator, what's the next big priority for you?
Well, the next big priority is today. We've got some blockbuster bills that are in Senate committees, educational savings accounts, more education funding, border funding, and a first time ever effectively Texas offense for crossing the border. So we've got a ton of work that's going, and I'm on all these committees that are voting on these bills this afternoon. So, just when you think you're done, wait, there's more. The Texas Senate's got more work to do.
School vouchers. Well, let me ask about this. School vouchers appear to remain where they have been for the past 20 years or so. Rural Republicans just do not appear to be moving on it, especially over in the other chamber in the House of Representatives. Do you expect that's going to pass, that the governor might get in there and broker some type of a deal?
Well, look, it took 2 special sessions to even give away $18 billion of the public's money on the largest property tax cut, we think, in history. And so it takes time. The second special session, you try something is critical, because this is the second one just on school and ESAs. So we'll know pretty quickly. The Senate bill has passed out of the Senate already once. I expect it will pass again, as well as increase teacher pay, teacher incentive allotments, school safety, et cetera. I think all that will pass as well. And then really it's going to be up to the House. I do predict that the border bills, the new offense for crossing into Texas illegally, as well as border funding, is going to pass both the Senate and the House. And look, the property tax bill passed both the Senate and the House. Right. So eventually something will pass on education funding. Really, the question is, does it have an ESA component or not? And that's going to be up to the House.
Any chance that the teacher pay might be split up, make a clean bill with ESAs?
No, that's actually what we did in the Senate. Chairman Brandon Creighton from Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Has exactly that pattern, which is you've got the ESAs in Bill 1, that's SB1, and you've got the school funding in Bill 2. And that's important because the two can be combined later, but you have to start with, hey, what's your best ideas? The Senate, look, we've been passing some form of school choice for 6 years. I carried one as far back as 2017. So we're interested in this as good public policy. The real question at this point in time is, can the House pass it? And we'll know here pretty quickly.
Is there a chance to meet in the middle with these rural Republicans who just don't like school vouchers as they're written now?
Well, look, there's always a chance, and that's why you have these special sessions. But critically, it's a complex problem because unlike in other states, which have actually a lot of acceptance and actually liking of school choice in urban areas, the Democrat Party has not even made any moves towards any compromise on this, or I should say the Democrat House caucus hasn't, with the exception of Harold Dutton. And so that puts a lot of pressure then on the Republican side. And you're right. Traditionally, when you look around all the big states in the union, some states have been doing this for almost 25 years, but they always had a rural component for the Republicans that they had to get some understanding with about how this works and how it doesn't affect. Same thing happened in Arizona. You can go over Tennessee, Georgia, pick a number, Florida. All this has happened before. It just hasn't happened in Texas yet.
But those other states got it across the finish line, and they had to reach some agreement with the rural Republicans. Do you see that happening in this state, though?
Well, there's a big structural difference between, let's say, Florida and Texas. Florida has all of 4 dozen independent school districts. We have 1,100. Okay. So that's a completely different constituency, and it's a huge constituency for rural members to deal with. So we're structured differently. So education in Texas is far more decentralized and fragmented than it is in these other states. And that means you've got a whole bunch of people with independent opinions, and believe me, they express them regularly.
Senator, I want to zoom out here and ask you how you think the state Senate and the Texas House can heal their working relationship.
Well, look, I managed to get it done with Representative Will Metcalf on the property tax bill. If you have the right public policy, things will happen. Look, Texas is a big state. It's the biggest Republican state in the union. We've got big personalities. There's room for all of this if you do the people's business, like we did on property tax relief. And you've seen it in the tax bills right now. And when you do real things for real people, that's the best public policy. It also happens to be the best politics, at least in Uncle Paul's opinion.
Uncle Paul's opinion here too. I want to ask you about the border bill, because it seems the House and the Senate have finally gotten on the same page on the border bill. Everything that I'm hearing, though, is this is likely going to end up in court because it's unconstitutional, since the argument is that the states don't control immigration law. That's a federal responsibility. What's your reaction to that?
Well, when you look at the law carefully, the question is, what happens when you have, quote, an invasion? Now, I'm not talking about an armed invasion so much as 10,000 people a day. Wow, that's an invasion. 8 million people in the Biden administration alone have crossed illegally. And they've migrated all points of the compass in the United States. If they were in one state, they'd be the 38th largest state in the union. That's how many people have come in. And it's unsustainable. And people know it. And it's not just Republicans, independents, and Democrats. I think everybody realizes it is. So we're going to have to do something to stand up for the right public policy. The federal government actually has the laws on the books. They're not enforcing them. So this is a real conundrum. What do you do when the federal government walks away from building the wall, but really walks away from enforcing border law? And that's what happened.
Is this bill being passed to test that theory about whether the states can have any say on immigration law?
Well, in my opinion, the bill's passed because of effectively the federal government has obligated all their responsibilities. They're not doing what the law says now. So if the federal government won't do it, if feds walk away, then state government has to step up. We've got billions of dollars of expense, not just on the border directly, but with everything else, education, healthcare, a whole plethora of services. And what we're seeing is a total lack of implementation by the federal government to have any type of border security, any type of immigration law, because we're really now running totally wide open. And that's just not what federal law says to do. And it's not good public policy. You've got to have a legal immigration system. And if Texas has to step up and challenge all this, we're going to do it.
Senator, Texas, as you know, is supposed to have a part-time legislature. You guys have been in Austin all year. There's now a historic fourth special session.
3, 4.
Exactly. And 4, as you know, has never happened before. Why can't the Republican majority that controls Austin get their work done during the allotted time?
Well, I happen to like the number 4 because we voted for Prop 4 anyway. Look, it takes time in this type of what I would consider to be a frothy political environment everywhere in the country. It's not Texas, it's everywhere. It takes time to work through everybody's opinions. And it took 2 special sessions to give out the record property tax relief that we're now seeing in everyone's mailboxes. This will be critical because this session will determine whether or not the House will pass educational savings account or equivalent. And of course, you got to stay tuned because at least we're providing some theater, okay, as well as trying to pass good public policy.
But the founding fathers in this state said 180 days is enough to get your job done.
Well, it's $600 a month. 140 days is the right number. Actually, is enough for me. And that's where we're at now. We've seemed to have more special sessions really since starting in 2017. Yeah. It will affect people. People will decide to quit. They'll decide to go home. We're already seeing the beginnings of that. There's a natural attrition with that. But this public policy is important. It was very important to get back that excess surplus cash to the taxpayers. I think it's very important to have this fundamental, a right of educational savings accounts. Yeah. But it's also important to have border security and additional school funding. And that's what these bills are about. So I know at least 2 of them will pass and probably 3 eventually at some point. One of the school funding bills will pass. But it's a discussion worth having. These are good long-term things for the state. Yeah. And in the border, if we got to challenge the federal government, well, we've been winning in court 85% of the time. We'll take our chances there if that's what we have to do.
Do you expect there to be a 5th special session?
Well, if there's a 5th special session, I'm hoping for the spring. Okay, so my honey-do list grows long, and the holidays are here. So I'd rather show up alive than shot by my wife for not getting my list done.
Senator, we appreciate the time as always. Take care, sir.
No, always take care too, right? And you'll live long and prosper this time with Prop 4 passed too.